You can see the Santa Muerte. This is something that was actually adopted from Mexico's Sinaloa cartel and has been used by gangs across Latin America, including, as the director points out, 18th Street gang.
Inside Seikot, El Salvador's notorious terrorism confinement center, tattoos aren't just art. Officials say they're messages, warnings, a visual record of where someone's been and what they've done.
The Saint of Death.
Prison director Belarmino Garcia says many of these markings are steeped in ritual, loyalty, and violence. But officials insist they don't rely on tattoos alone. Each inmate here, they say, has a file with a criminal history that goes back years.
Activo. Sí. He said MS-13 active, and I said, what do you mean by active? He said, still a gang member.
Prison officials selected one inmate for us to speak with, Hector Hernandez. Under close watch by guards, he proudly showed off his tattoos.
Why are you here in this prison?
Por homicidio.
For homicide. Hasta 50 personas?
Sí.
More than 50 people?
Sí.
Critics question the lack of due process. Officials insist they've done their due diligence, though they acknowledge not all inmates here have been convicted. But El Salvador's Justice and Public Security Ministry insists they can back up each case, in part thanks to this.
They have 1-8, means Barrio 18.
Public Security Minister Gustavo Villatoro shows us his personal gang intelligence book. 20 years in the making, it's now shared with law enforcement around the world, he says.
We are giving support the police in Italy, Spain, in US.
He says their focus is global and includes deportees. If someone in U.S. custody has ties to El Salvador, officials here say they're watching.
Even in the book, you have separate.
While they won't comment on specific cases, Villatoro says they have extensive criminal records on alleged gang members who have yet to be caught.
This information allowed us to catch them when U.S. sent a deportation flight. We check all of them, and if we found someone who we are very sure that he is a member of any gangs in El Salvador, we capture them and put in jail.
You know exactly who's coming in on those deportation flights.
Yes.
So did you specifically want those individuals to come back?
Of course. Of course.
The minister continuously updates his findings and says he shares those records and other gang intel with U.S. law enforcement. The tactics used to track gang symbols here in El Salvador started outside prison walls, where ink can mean art or accusation.
Era como, ¿qué te tapaste? ¿Qué hay ahí? ¿Qué es eso?
What are you covering up?
Exacto, entonces es un cover y...
Tattoo artist Alejandra Angel says she once worried her ink might draw suspicion, especially after President Nayib Bukele launched a state of emergency in 2022 to dismantle gangs. She says her decision to cover an old design that she no longer liked raised questions, but nothing ever came of it.
Entonces no hay nada malo ahí, no pasa nada.
Camilo Rodriguez, another tattoo artist, says police stopped him twice early on in the crackdown, asking what his tattoos meant.
He said no longer are people fearing police when they have tattoos. He's actually seen more and more professionals, doctors, lawyers come and want to get tattoos done.
Camilo says officers here are now more informed, better trained, more precise. Inside Seikot, the country's violent past is etched into skin. Yet for those being sent back across borders, tattoos may not just hint at who they are, they can help decide where they end up.
With my colleague Priscilla Alvarez reporting that the U.S. is now planning to send more deportees to right here in El Salvador and eventually into Seikot, raises the question, is there enough space? Now, the prison director told me on our tour that the capacity of the prison is about 40,000 and that they're nearing capacity at this point, but that there is still sufficient space. The public minister telling me that they are considering all options, including expanding and even looking into potentially building a second Seikot.